Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, Internet. My name is Ash, and welcome to my studio. This is the very first annual Single White Lesbian Christmas episode. I made the hat myself. It's also hand-stitched. In today's episode, we will be discussing my favorite Christmas movies. This was a very hard decision to make. I tried to limit myself. I have many favorite Christmas movies. Stay tuned for my honorable mentions list. Number 8. Gremlins, 1984, rated PG. Starring Zach Galligan as Billy Peltzer. Billy's father is a traveling inventor, and he brings home a gift for Billy and the family, which happens to be a mogwai. There are 3 rules for this mogwai: don't expose it to sunlight, don't get it wet, and never ever feed it after midnight. Unfortunately, things happen and the mogwai multiplies, and then these multiplied mogwai happen to eat after midnight, and a lot of very scary fun ensues. By today's standards, this film would be at least rated PG-13, if not R, because of how scary it was. But hey, welcome to the 80s. Scary movies for kids were actually given a decent rating. This is an amazing film. If you have not watched it and your children have not watched it, I highly recommend it. Number 7, Die Hard, 1988, rated R. Starring Bruce Willis as John McClane. This is the very first installment into the Die Hard series. In the first and by far my favorite Die Hard, John McClane goes to LA to see his estranged wife and children for Christmas. His wife, being at a holiday Christmas party at her workplace, Nakatomi Tower, she unfortunately ends up in a hostage situation. And John decides to take matters into his own hands and defeat Hans Gruber, played by the late Alan Rickman, a wonderful actor, and eventually throws him off of Nakatomi Tower. It is not Christmas until I watch Hans Gruber fall screaming from Nakatomi Tower. Some people refer to it as Nakatomi Plaza. To each his own. I highly recommend Die Hard. It is a phenomenal film. By today's standards, it's not too violent, so it could be considered a family film if you have children that are at least older than 7. Watch it. It's a wonderful Christmas movie, and it's not a traditional Christmas movie, which is what makes it so wonderful. I don't care what anybody says, this is a Christmas movie. Not even Bruce Willis himself will convince me that this is not a Christmas movie. It happens during Christmas time, and it also mentions Christmas. Therefore, it is a Christmas movie. You can argue with me all you want, but I assure you, you will not win. Number 6, The Santa Claus, 1994, rated PG. Starring Tim Allen as Scott Calvin. Scott, while having his son over for Christmas Eve, ends up somehow scaring Santa. Santa falls off a roof. Scott decides after Santa falls off the roof, he's going to search for some ID to see who this guy actually is. Scott gets a card that tells him to put on the suit, the reindeer will know what to do. He puts on the suit and then becomes Santa Claus. This is by far the best in the Santa Claus series. The sequels didn't really hold up to the first film, but they did pretty good, and bonus, they have Elizabeth Mitchell. I highly recommend you watch it, especially this time of year. It's a great Christmas film, and it's a really great family film. Number 5, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, 1989, rated PG-13. Starring Chevy Chase, once again as Clark W. Griswold Jr. This time we follow the family's adventure during Christmas time. Clark decides to try to host the perfect Christmas. Unfortunately for him, Cousin Eddie shows up and just about anything that can go wrong will. I call it Griswold's Law. This is a great film. If you want to see somewhat what my family's like, please watch this film. I consider this a family film as well, but my kids will be watching movies that most of your kids probably will not be allowed to watch. So, I highly recommend it. Great Christmas movie. Number 4, A Christmas Story, 1983, rated PG. Starring Peter Billingsley as Ralphie Parker. This film centers around Ralphie and his family and the time leading up to Christmas, where all Ralphie wants for Christmas is a Red Ryder BB gun. Unfortunately, his mother and his teacher seem to think that he's going to shoot his eye out. Thankfully for Ralphie, things turn out in his favor. You want to talk about a great family film? You want to talk about a great Christmas film? This is one of the all-time greatest Christmas films ever. All time. And the only reason that it is number 5 on my list is because of sentimental value for the first 3. This movie is my father's childhood. It is a great family film. I love this film because I think it captures life in the 1950s perfectly, especially around Christmas. If you have never seen this film, I highly recommend it. If you don't like this film, I'm sorry, you have no taste. I adore this movie. It is a great Christmas movie. Watch it. And yes, every year when they play the 24-hour marathon, I watch it. It is on at least one of the TVs in my home for 24 hours. Number 3, Mickey's Christmas Carol, 1983, rated G. In this installment, Scrooge McDuck plays Ebenezer Scrooge in this classic Disney retelling of the classic Charles Dickens story, A Christmas Carol. I love this film. When I hear the opening, I get goosebumps. It is a great Disney movie. It is a great Christmas movie. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. This is number 3 because the top 3 are my childhood favorites that I absolutely adore. It gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. It gets me in the Christmas mood. I absolutely love it. Number 2, Muppets Christmas Carol, 1992, rated PG. Michael Caine stars as Ebenezer Scrooge in this Muppets retelling of the Charles Dickens classic, A Christmas Carol. In this retelling, Gonzo and Rizzo the Rat are the narrators of the story and somehow follow Ebenezer Scrooge without being seen or noticed by him the entire time, but certain other Muppets can see them. It's entertaining, it's heartwarming. This one definitely gets me into the Christmas spirit, which is why it is number 2. Watch it, share it with your kids, share it with your friends and family. It's amazing. Honorable mentions: The Year Without a Santa Claus, Babes in Toyland, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Disney Sing-Along Songs, A Very Merry Christmas, How the Grinch Stole Christmas 1966, How the Grinch Stole Christmas 2000, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Jingle All the Way, The Holiday, Die Hard 2, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Again, I love every single one of the honorable mentions, and I tried to not mention the same Christmas films that literally just about everybody else mentions. Number 1, Home Alone, 1990, rated G. Macaulay Culkin stars as Kevin McAllister in the very first installment to the Home Alone franchise. McAllisters are planning on going to France for Christmas to visit relatives. Everyone is to fly out the next day. Unfortunately, Kevin causes a scene the night before, ends up having to sleep on the 3rd floor by himself, and the family, in a rush because the power goes out the night before, forget about poor Kevin and leave him home alone. Kevin, being the man of the house, decides to have fun with this. Instead of being scared, he decides he's gonna have a good time and have his own little vacation. Unfortunately, the wet bandits are in the neighborhood, and Kevin's house just happens to be the one that they really want to hit. Unfortunately for the wet bandits, Kevin's got a few tricks up his sleeve, and he just so happens to trick out his house and torture the bad guys. This is a great family film. This is a childhood favorite. This was a Christmas classic the year it came out. If you have not seen this film, I highly recommend it. Share it with your kids, your friends, your family. This is, in my eyes, the number 1 Christmas movie. It is fun, it is heartwarming, it is a family film that just gets everybody into the Christmas spirit, and by far my favorite scene in this film is when Kevin is in Buzz's room climbing his shelves, going after Buzz's life savings. Still to this day, that is my favorite. I also happen to love this film because growing up in this house, we happened to have laundry chutes similar to the ones featured in the film, and when I was a kid, we still had the original furnace my great-grandparents put in this home, which was identical to the one featured in Kevin's basement. I love this film. It brings back so many childhood memories and really revs me up for the Christmas season. I highly recommend it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you would like to see me again, please click the like and subscribe button. Good night.